What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Monday, June 7th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 3-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. Now, it's always risky to pay down at pitcher. As we saw yesterday, the stud pick was okay, but if you tried to pay down and took my pay down pitcher, well, he scored 0 fantasy points. So that's the risk that you run when you pay down at pitcher, but I think it's a decent risk here tonight. It's a small slate, and if you want to pay up at pitcher, just go for a guy like Pablo Lopez. But if you want to pay down at the pitcher position, take a look at Dylan Bundy with a 7% pitching advantage over a low salary batting team, the Kansas City Royals. Now, Dylan Bundy is only giving up a .652 OPS versus righties, so he throws his best ball versus righty batters, and he's facing 6 righties here tonight. And on top of that, the Royals have only hit 28 of his last 109 pitches. That's a .257 batting average and a huge sample size. And Dylan Bundy is only $7,300 FanDuel salary and $200 less on DraftKings, projected at 24.5 fantasy points here tonight. Now, these stats don't look good, guys. He has an ERA of 6.49. His record is 0-6 on the season, but he's pitching an average of 84 pitches per game and averaging 22 fantasy points per game. So I think he can score close to 30 fantasy points in this game, and you're gonna have enough salary to stack your bats. So I like Dylan Bundy here versus the Kansas City Royals. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. I like Jared Walsh with a 33% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Jackson Kowar. Jared Walsh is batting 33% better versus righty pitchers. There's no at-bats versus Kowar yet, and he is $3,700 FanDuel salary, and he's the same price on DraftKings, projected at 10.5 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 13, 15, and 3 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Jared Walsh here versus Jackson Kowar. Now, the other catcher first base position player that I like is Wilson Contreras, who has a 50% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Ryan Weathers. He's 2 for 3 off of Weathers with a 2.667 OPS versus Weathers. He's $3,100 FanDuel salary, and he's $1,000 more on DraftKings. Projected at 11.1 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 3, 0, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Wilson Contreras here versus Ryan Weathers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Jake Cronenworth with a 62% batting advantage over Adbert Alzolay. Jake Cronenworth is batting 31% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .874 OPS versus righties. And Adbert Alzolay, he's pitching 30% worse to lefties as he does righties, giving up a .762 OPS versus lefties. And Jake Cronenworth is 1 for 2 with a 1 OPS versus Alzolay. Cronenworth is $3,000 FanDuel salary. He's $900 more on DraftKings. Projected at 13.6 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 3, 3, and 6 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Jake Cronenworth here versus Adbert Alzolay. Now real quick, I also like Jurickson Profar and Ian Happ. Ian Happ is only $2,200 FanDuel salary, although he's $2,000 more on DraftKings. I love that FanDuel price. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. I like Rafael Devers with a 35% batting advantage over Pablo Lopez. Rafael Devers bats 27% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .936 OPS versus righties. And Pablo Lopez throws his worst ball versus lefty batters, 8% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .695 OPS versus lefties. Rafael Devers is $3,800 FanDuel salary. He's $1,200 more on DraftKings, projected at 10.2 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 13 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 0, 19, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Rafael Devers here versus Pablo Lopez. Okay, who do we have at the shortstop position? We saved some salary at the pitcher position so we can pay up for Fernando Tatis Jr. batting against Adbert Alzolay. And Fernando Tatis Jr., he bats 29% better versus righty pitchers. And although Alzolay does throw his best ball versus righty batters, Fernando Tatis Jr. is $4,500 FanDuel salary. He's $1,100 more on DraftKings, projected at 16.1 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 17 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 6, 15, and 3 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Fernando Tatis Jr. here versus Adbert Alzolay. Okay, let's take a look at the outfield position. I like Andrew Benintendi. Now, this is if you're not playing Dylan Bundy, but if you are not playing Dylan Bundy, Andrew Benintendi, he's got a 49% batting advantage here. He bats 33% better versus righty pitchers. And Dylan Bundy, he throws 16% worse to lefties as he does righties, giving up a .778 OPS versus lefties. And I like this pick because Andrew Benintendi is 14 for 36 with a .389 batting average and a 1.143 OPS versus Bundy. So that's a big sample size, and that's excellent batter versus pitcher matchup there. Andrew Benintendi is $3,300 FanDuel salary. He's $300 more on DraftKings, projected at 13.4 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 7, 31, and 16 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Andrew Benintendi here versus Dylan Bundy.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.